Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Trades Talk. I have a very special guest in the studio today, and you probably know him, and you probably know the companies that he's founded, started, and built. It's Richard Sperber, and Richard originally started with his dad a long time ago. His dad started in the industry about 80 years ago. Richard took over, ultimately grew that company, which is ValleyCrest, to over $1 billion and merged it with Brickman and took it public. That became Brightview. After taking a few years off, Richard came back into the scene and started Sperber Landscape Companies, and again, grew another $1 billion company. And that's where we're at today. So we got Sperber on the show. We're going to talk to Richard, and we're going to talk to him about how to scale companies, how to build a team, and so much more. Most people know you, Richard. I don't need to give too much more of an introduction. Welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Doing great. How you doing?
Fantastic. I'm beyond excited for this talk. Get a lot of fun and exciting guests here, but not too many that have done what you've done. So I'm excited to ask you some questions and dive into it.
Let's do it. It's been fun talking to you. I know I've run into you a bunch of times at some of the shows, and you're doing some great things with these podcasts, and sort of cool.
Thanks, man.
Well,
hey, I appreciate that. Thank you. I actually, the reason I started this podcast is because those industry shows are so much fun. You know, we get to hang out, talk shop, enjoy each other's company, and I get a ton of inspiration from them. And then I go back and find myself a little bit, in my own little silo at my company back home. And I think a lot of people do too. So this podcast is just birthed out of the idea of let's keep the conversations going after those industry shows.
Let's do it.
So I got to start with this. I heard some rumors recently, and I don't know if it's true. I don't know how it can be true, but I heard you're potentially separating or not working for Sperber Landscapes Company, which is odd. Richard Sperber, Sperber Landscapes. But is that a rumor you want to debunk or talk to at all?
Yeah, way to start off strong. No, look, yeah. So, yeah, I'm definitely not with the company anymore. It's
okay.
Pretty a couple of weeks. Look, there's a lot of positive stuff about working with private equity and building a business, and there's a lot of negative stuff. And I have a certain way I believe we should run a business, and sort of the values I hold, and I'm not willing to compromise those things. And sometimes they think younger leadership is more interesting, so they're going to have to, so they're going to transition into some new people, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But unfortunately, my journey's over there, and ready to start some new ones. I still think I still got a little juice left, so why not? So I'm excited. I love the industry. It's what I do. It's what I know. So I'm just looking forward to my next journey.
Man, well, that's awesome. And I'm excited to break the news here on Trade Stock. This is big news. And look, we've seen the changes over at another company that starts with a B. And I don't know how well that's gone over the last 10 years. I think there's a lot of people who have come and gone, and maybe, maybe they need to take a look in the mirror. But regardless of that, we could talk shit all day on private equity. Yeah, I share a similar opinion.
Yeah, following that, so I'm not sure following the Brightview business plan is going to work, but that's what it is. What it is. Everyone can wake up every morning and look at their stock price. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
they'll figure out one day.
That's the ultimate measurement of success when you're publicly traded, and when it's not going well, maybe it's time to make some changes. Go back to. Well, let's go there. Let's go to the positive side. I want to talk about ValleyCrest, because it's a company that when I hear ValleyCrest, I immediately think of professionalism, high quality, passionate people doing amazing landscapes. Being in California myself, here in the Bay Area, I've gotten a front row seat to some of the amazing projects and properties that ValleyCrest maintained in the heyday. And Richard, I want to ask you just straight away, what is some of the things that you do or believe in to get the most amazing people to work at your companies and then work well together? Because it's one thing to have a bunch of great people. It's another thing for them to actually work well together. Any experience share on that?
Yeah, I would say, you know, yeah, and I know you're up in Northern California, right?
Yeah.
And, so Nada Duna, who is our regional, who's maybe one of the best operators in all the landscape business. She ran Northern California. She's a rock star, and a great person. And so, and everyone sort of says this industry, it's a people business. It's about people, people, people. But, we lived and actually breathed it, right? We invested so much money in making sure we have great experiences for our people and made them feel, we always looked at our big competitors as someone like you, right?
Yeah.
Like, because our people could be you, right? They could go run their own, they could leave, they can go run their own business, right? And not have to work at a bigger company, and right, it's choices. So we actually modeled our business after actually people like you. We wanted our, the people like Nada to feel like it's their business, right? Not some big corporation, and that, she could make as much money as you. She could drive the same car as you, send her kids to the same school as she can, sit in front of a client and make a decision like you can right in front of them without having, I have to go back and check with my boss or my boss's boss or my boss's boss's boss, like, right? So make them feel like they own the business, and it's very entrepreneurial.
Right.
Right. And so we focused 80% of our time and energy on our people. Right. And so,
yeah, go ahead.
And we did a lot of collaboration, as we got bigger, there were more people. Right. So for instance, we would take our people to Hawaii every year, all the managers, right? And just hang out for 7 days on the beach. Right. You get a lot of good collaboration sitting in Hawaii on 7 days on the beach, right?
Yeah.
Away from everything, no phones ringing, no nothing. And so, we did 2 or 3 of those type of meetings a year, once a year in Hawaii. You have all the management people, but you got to really live and breathe the field workers. And so how we take care of those people is important, right? We would give away, I'm not sure if you knew this, we would give away 17 brand new F-150s every year away to the workforce, right?
Wow.
We drew your name out. If you work safe, no accidents, right? We put your name in a hat, depending on the region, and we'd pull your name out of the hat, and there'd be an F-150 sitting there, and 2 seconds later, we'd drop you the set of keys every year.
And that's their personal vehicle?
That they own. It Pink's here, brand new, right? They own it. It's not ours. They were red,
but brand new.
But brand new in theirs, right? And talking about, they get a free $40,000 truck or whatever it was.
Wow.
And so changing people's lives helps the cause.
Yeah. Yeah. And doing that stuff, when you allow let's just use the term branch manager to act like a CEO, because they're kind of in a way competing against other owners, right? When they go to a job walk, you have branch manager from XYZ company, you have the owner and founder of this company, you have the owner of that company. How did you set that organization up where those people could actually act like owners and not just, sink the ship? Did you have to put parameters around them, or what was the process in setting them up to be successful and to give them the flexibility to be and act like an owner?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we do have guardrails, right? But, it just sort of starts at the top. My dad and, Bruce Wilson's and the people that really started the business a long time ago, which they taught me is like, we're $1 billion business, 11,000, a lot of it. Like we can't, at top, you just got to you can't make every decision anymore.
Yeah.
Right. You got to trust that people are going to make decisions as good as you're going to make. And by the way, they're going to make wrong decisions also. Right. Trust me, I've made more wrong decisions than anybody in the entire industry. Right. My dad didn't fire me. Invite you, right? It just, so you got to allow people to make their mistakes, right? They learn from them and we teach them and we guide them, but you can't make, I see this with a lot of the smaller businesses, like the owner just wants to continue to make every decision, right? Because it's important to their money. I get it. Right.
Yeah.
But if you want to grow, you got to release decision-making power, and not all decisions are going to be right. And you got to accept that.
And is there a point? Yeah.
Even though, like, oh, why'd they just do that? It's going to happen. Like I would have told him this. Well, you now know that person that just said that decision is not going to, right? They're not going to do that again.
Yeah. And sometimes they got to make the mistakes to learn the lesson themselves, because as much as you want to tell people the lesson of, hey, don't do this, don't do that, you kind of have to go through it sometimes, right? To learn that lesson. So Richard, motivating people and getting people to work together is clearly one of your strengths. What is some of the tactics or strategies that you use when it comes to compensation, whether it be salary, bonuses, equity? How do you build out a compensation package for a divisional or a regional leader that makes them feel like an owner as well?
No, yeah, look, that's a great question. It's not only the experiences, you deliver to your people. Obviously, compensation is big, right? And so we gave up to 20% of our profits to the team every year, right? And so, you look at a branch manager, I'll just use that as an example. So you got, that person can personally earn up to 5% of the profits, right? That was sort of a theory we had back in the day.
Yeah.
And, we had a scorecard that had a few things on it that you can either do better on, or if you didn't do good, you could do a little worse. Safety was always number one in our mind. So you got to run a safe organization. That's for sure. Right. And then, and then there's the staff below them. And so they're on a similar scorecard, similar bonus. Right. And then you got to leave a chunk for the field every year. Right. For the guys in the field that did great, that stayed with you, and this and that. So,
yeah,
that's certainly something key. So, compensation is definitely really important, but it's also the experience. I always try and tell the people is, as soon as you get bigger and bigger, we got to stop doing things to our people. We need to do things for our people. Right. And I see that more and more in the industry today, that, the leaders today are doing things to people, not for people. Like people they want to make their lives easier, not harder. Right. And so, you're sitting in these big organizations and they're going, we came up with this idea. We now want to measure this every 2 seconds, and we're now going to do this. And then, this business is a simple business. The more time we spend with our people and the more time we spend with our clients, the better we're going to do. So the less time our people are doing those two things and doing all this other stuff we want them to do, the not as good a job they're going to do. It's pretty simple. It's never changed.
Right. It's funny. We made this mistake. We had like all these technologies and scoreboards, and we had like 10 KPIs per person. And we realized our account managers were spending 85% of their time in the technology, in the CRM, and like 15% of their time with the clients. And so this year we flipped that. We said, hey, everyone has like one or two most important metrics, like client retention and site visits. Like how many hours are you on site? And we started measuring that. And now like enhancements are up, irrigation's up, profits up, labor variance is good. Like it's amazing. And these are probably things that you guys have been measuring for years, right?
Yeah, I'd say especially there's a huge generational gap between me and you. believe it or not, there's not an app that can do everything,
Yeah.
right? Like we didn't have any of that back in the day, and we grew the largest landscape company in the country without all of that, right? And we made just as much money as everyone is making today without having to pay for all this technology. And everyone's lives were easier. And more importantly, it was much easier to train people because they were more hands-on and we had to give them the experiences to learn versus, wow, here's a shortcut through this app, which takes away all the learning and all the experiences we gave our people.
Yeah. We found, I totally agree with this too. I think we found we're trying to optimize and use technology to get people out of their email inbox and out of the CRM and out of those areas. It's almost like we're in this reverse technology curve now today. Is like, how do we use AI so like we can take all that shit off the plate and they could go out and be in the field more? Because if I understand it right, let's go back to like 1998, 1997, like when you guys were in the very high growth process in ValleyCrest. Like, could you paint a picture of what an account manager's day-to-day looks like throughout the week? Like what do they do every day that made an account manager successful 20, 30 years ago?
Number one, like so they get a book of business, right? And it depends on, what part of the country, and you have more HOAs, or you have more shopping. Like, so it does, right? I'm just talking general now because it depends on the book of business the branch have. But, call it $1 million to $1.5 million of the business a good account manager can handle, right?
Yeah.
Assuming, it's not one big job, but there's 1,000 small, right? I'm just in general here, all right? Right. And their job is to, go see 10 customers a week, right? Go do 10 site visits a week with the crew, right? Put out 10 proposals a week, enhancement proposals. Those are the, spend some time with, those are the things that matter. No matter, they mattered 20 years ago, they mattered 10 years ago, and they matter today.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How important is it for those account managers to go and do their site visits when the crew is on site, when they are present?
Yeah. Look, the account managers, it's a tough job. Right. I'd say it might even be harder than the branch manager.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be great. It'd be great to do it when they're on the site, but they got, how do you logistically do all that, right? It's like, oh, I got that, it'd be definitely great to do it when they're on site, but it doesn't always work with that. It's super important to try and get a customer on site.
Okay. Yeah.
And to see a customer. And I think with technology today, it happens less and less because, I can send them a note. I could do this. I could send them a picture with the problem.
And when
the closer relationship you have with the owner, the less chances of being replaced. Better personal relationship you have, they'll even let you make some mistakes, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get to that today, or we fixed it, but it broke again. Whatever but the less you just push a button, then it's easier for them to push a button to say you're fired.
That's true. When you make it too easy, then
when you make it too easy, and this technology is making it easy for us to get fired.
It does. Yeah. Wait, what do you say to a property manager? We have this, the property manager doesn't want us to ever talk to the HOA board members who make the decision. What would you say to a property manager if you're an account manager and they're keeping you away from ever talking to the board directly?
Yeah, I mean, those are tough situations, right? You have to do what I call maybe chance encounters with the board. You run, right? You run into somebody, this or that. But if someone says, "Yeah, you got," those are tough ones. But in the board meetings and stuff like that, that's an opportunity to, meet and sit in front of these people. And that's why communication skills are so important with these account managers.
Right.
Right. And so, account manager is such an important job. And that was one of, I brought up Nod, I'll bring up her again for some reason, and Gary Tungate, who was in Florida, right? Surrounding themselves with we had a great training program. We also had great recruiting and programs, and spent a lot of time, me and my dad would actually have the summer recruits at our house every year for a barbecue, right? Staying close to all those people. I also see, though, these programs are shrinking. They're not getting bigger in the college, which means there's less and less people being attracted to the industry.
It's a big challenge getting people excited about the industry. I'm seeing it at Cal Poly here in California. Their Hort program is, and some of it is, I think the classes, the teachers are so disconnected from our industry of what actually it's like. Like I went in and taught a class on how to estimate stuff, and I didn't tell the class the project they're estimating is on a hillside with rocky soil. And so they looked at the plan, they assumed it was like, oh, and there's no tractor access. And so they just assumed like, oh, we can get a tractor back there and we'll do this. I'm like, oh guys, it's on like a 4-to-1 slope. It's rocky. The gate's only 24 inches wide. And it totally threw him for a loop. I was like, this is the real world though. Is like nothing's as it seems on a set of plans. It's usually a lot more complicated.
And so I think that we're going to slowly have to move towards second career people. That they wanted to be an accountant or a lawyer or whatever they decided to do. And maybe that's not working out for them. They didn't enjoy it as much as they thought. And this is a good opportunity to do, something different.
When you're interviewing someone like that, very little, if any, maybe no experience in the landscape industry, what do you look for in terms of characteristics and behaviors in that person?
I think communication skills, right? They have good people skills. And that's something that in an interview you can figure out pretty quick, right? Good work habits. Are they going to work hard? Good written communication. Can they speak? Right? Are they relatable? I think what we're going to have to do in the future, this is just my opinion. And, we're not, there's always problems, but the majority of the problems I think we all run against are here, not here. And so I think we could teach basic horticulture to people enough where they could deal with 90% of the problems we have, right? And then there's always something that's more technical. And, you have to bring in a horticulture, like someone that has more skill sets to solve the problem or knows the problem or this and that. But, I think depending on the college students, we either expand the programs or figure out another way to get great people.
It's hard. And to your point, I mean, a lot of the problems we're dealing with out there aren't highly complex, right? 80%, it's like weeds and trash and dead plants and like.
It's the same old.
Yeah. And then you got the crazy, infestation of some pest or some other issue or fungus that you got to bring in your arborist or bring in your horticulturalist that hopefully you have at least a couple of the folks in a branch that understands that.
Yeah, we had a great team led by Dave Hansen, who I still work with. That if it gets over all our heads, right? You bring in someone like him and his team that understands a lot more complexities and the details of what's going on.
So, Richard, I want to take us into a different level here and talk a little bit about high volume scale and talk about the different, like,
I lost you.
What?
I lost you for a second. I didn't hear what you said.
I want to talk about growing fast.
Okay.
Okay. So and I want to ask you the difference that you've experienced between greenfielding a new region versus acquiring a business. And you've acquired a lot of businesses. And what is your preferred method of growing into a new market if you had the choice? Would you greenfield into that market or would you acquire an existing company?
A great question. I would say it depends on where. So I'll take Northern California.
Perfect.
We grew in Northern California. We were and I'm making this up. I don't know the
Yeah, yeah.
East. Oh, we're in the East Bay. Then we went, we went up to Sonoma, and then we went, right, and so we went down to Gilroy and Monterey, on all those areas. So I would say those are easier places to greenfield, right? Because we have a strong core base there, and so
Mhm.
we could send a senior account manager who wants to move to Monterey, who's living in Santa Cruz, whatever the geographic area
Yeah.
is that we think has potential to be a branch manager, and move them down there, and can always support them as we need support as we get work, this and that. Versus, oh, you're in Northern California, let's now open up an office in Reno, which is now 3-hour drive from your house, I'm assuming, or not
Mhm.
close,
At least.
right? And so I would say it would probably make sense to buy a smaller business there where, they have the support you need and right there, rather than having to send it, 5 hours away. And so, greenfield's great when you can do it, as
Yeah.
long keep it close and make sure you have great people to do it with. I prefer to do with people that are on our team versus, wow, I'm going to, I met this nice guy who's in the landscape business, and I think I'm going to hire him and he's going to start our branch there. I think there's a lot of risks to that, right? He was a nice guy when you met him, or a woman when you met them, but they don't have this skill and they don't understand the way we do things. And, so there's a lot more risk versus sending someone that is homegrown, a lot more successful.
Totally hear that. And it requires somewhat of a company. You have to have a big enough company to have those senior account managers to then send to go start those greenfields, right? So to some point, you have to have some kind of scale, like 20, 30, 40 million in size, 200-300 people, before you can really start to go far out and start planting flags in new markets. So what's your thoughts on that, as far as if you were to take a senior account manager and move them out and have them start a branch, how do you backfill that position when they, because they leave a pretty big hole, right? How do you backfill that position?
Yeah, there's two things. There's the backfilling. Let me say something first, and I won't remind me on the backfilling piece.
Okay.
So I would first say is like, everyone's really ambitious, and you're definitely ambitious, and everyone wants to open up. I would first say dominate where you're at. Like, if you're not number 1, 2, or 3, don't worry about going to the next city or the next town over. Like, be great where you are, and dominate that space before you're thinking about, I'm going to now go to San Jose because I'm in Pleasant, whatever it might be, right? Like, whatever your territory is, be the biggest and the best.
Yeah. How do you know when you reach that point?
I mean, like,
Or do you just know?
if you're in a city and there's 7 competitors that are real there's 1,000 landscapers in every city, but there's really only 10 people that most people really compete against at the level that we're at. And so, where are you in that? Like, where honestly are you?
Yeah.
Besides saying you're the best, because we all say we're the best, right?
Yeah, you believe your shit doesn't stink.
Yeah. So really, where are you on that list of 10 people that you compete against? And that's including the large companies like Brightview or Yellowstone or Monarch. Like, how big is my branch? Is my company? Am I in the top 1, 2, or 3? Right? Are we getting the better jobs? Are we attracting the best people? Right? Are we doing the best quality work? Are we getting incoming calls versus everything's like we got to chase everything? Right? And then I would say you're ready for the next branch. And how you get back to the next to the question is, you have a company and you have 3 account managers. All right. Well, if you want to grow in a year or 2, you need to get 4. You got to start investing in your account managers or an assistant branch manager, right? You may not need them. which is tough, right? This is how you think long term versus which is a lot of short term thinking today with private equity.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to invest in the future, right, you're going to have an extra account manager, right? That person's maybe taking, $600,000 worth of work, and they're going to grow into that, right? And so, you got to be willing to do that. You got to be willing to do that, and and there's nothing wrong with having multiple branches in one city.
Okay.
You're in a city, and whatever city it might be, and so it's harder to grow the bigger these companies get. There's a lot of, we're all landscapers. There's a lot of stuff goes wrong every day. There's a lot of things to do, and there's some complexities in our in our business. There's nothing wrong with having, 2 or 3 branches versus one big company, right? Because the person running that one big company, it's turning out to be you.
Yep.
Now it's so big and you don't trust anyone to make those decisions versus, okay, I got to lay this down as a branch manager who's not you. You now have to trust that person, but that person can only handle so much capacity. So maybe it's time let's have 2 branch managers in this city, right? They're both $8 million or they're both $4 million. It's easier to grow $4 million businesses faster than it is to grow one $20 million fast business in a city.
Completely agree with that. This is so interesting. You're saying this. It's actually our strategy for 2026 is we were 20 million and we said, man, it's really getting harder to grow. We're saturated in our area. We feel like we have all the best people and the best properties and the best clients, and it's time to expand. But we also want to put more ownership in the $20 million area and break it up into like 3 or 4 buckets. So I could say, hey, Katie, you take over this $4 million bucket and just get it to 5 or 6 million over the next year. And do the same thing, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, we went from 4 to 6 million. That's 50% growth right there. And you had someone that owned that versus, myself trying to push a $20 million boulder uphill.
Yep. And now you have 2 people at 4 million growing to 5.5 or 6, right? And your growth's going to be better. You're going to take better care of your clients because the branch manager is going to be closer to the clients also and to the people in the field that they're working with versus a bigger organization. And, maybe at that point, you're at a size in your city or wherever you're operating that, you can have a guy running just the tree business now, right? Which is sort of a different business than mowing lawns every day. And so
really different.
Yeah, so maybe you can hire a manager that just is concentrating on that, and then you can do, you can have a guy, someone in charge of like, okay, they're running enhancements for both those companies, right? So there's things you could do, which, the bigger you get in a city, the more competitive you get, and it's harder to compete against.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
Especially if it's
then you have things that the smaller competitor can't get, right? I can have a tree service. I can have better irrigation techs. I can have a horticultural guy. So when things go, right, I can hire better designers, right? Because I can afford all this, right? So sometimes, wow, let's open up the next city. No, get really big on where you're at because you're going to be super hard to compete against.
How important was it to add the tree business to your construction and maintenance company when you added tree work? And when did you guys do that? How early was that in the journey that you guys started doing real legit tree work with climbers and chippers and boom trucks and the whole thing?
I'd say it's the last 15 years at ValleyCrest probably.
Okay.
Where we actually hired someone just to run that business. And we kept we keep the regions and they all take advantage of the tree business, but there was a branch manager that ran the tree that ran that region. It's a whole different, right? Different safety issues, a lot more equipment, right? It's book and burn business versus, when you sell a landscape maintenance job, you got it for the next, year or two, right? It just keeps going versus once you trim that tree, you got to go find another one to trim.
Yep.
Right?
That's a good way to put it.
You got to find another, right? That crew just finished the job and now they got to find a new one.
And those guys eat through trees like it's going out of style. I mean, they move quick. So
and the margins are good in that business.
Yeah.
And so, you can certainly sub that work out at 10% or something. If you can get 10%, great. But if you could do it in house, it's a big margin business.
I think there's a value add too when a client, especially if you have a larger portfolio of properties and they see your logo on the tree truck, they see your logo on the irrigation enhancement maintenance. It starts, I mean, you guys did so well at this with ValleyCrest too, including the construction side. Like you start to build a brand that these asset managers really trust, right? Is that part of your guys' ability to grow throughout regions and grow ultimately, nationwide?
Yeah, I would say, well, I'm not speaking for ValleyCrest or Sperber anymore.
Yeah.
This is just my opinions as Richard Sperber. Yeah, I think brand matters.
Yeah.
For sure. I think building a brand, that is trusted, right? And so when that owner of real estate, they go, yeah, I want to have Justin on my property, right? I think it matters 100%.
On that note of brand, and this is a Richard Sperber opinion, of course, here that I'm asking for is when you're acquiring a lot of businesses, is it better to integrate them under one brand name or to create a family of companies that have the brand loyalty in each one of those markets? Because I think you've kind of done both. So this is a big topic in the industry right now.
No, it's a great question. And so it depends on what your goal is.
Okay.
So if your goal is to buy a bunch of companies and in 5 years from selling and then exit the business,
yeah,
it probably doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're building a landscape business for the long term and you want to build a brand, you can't keep the names. But it's a tough deal, right? Because you buy, look, I started 6 years ago at Sperber. We had nothing. It was just me sitting in a room.
It's crazy.
with Bill Ropp, who's a guy that came with me to help me start the business, and a woman named Addie who helped with marketing and all sorts of. She did everything for us, and so we bought the first business. And you buy a company, they're very proud of what they do, and they're in a marketplace, and do you risk changing the name to a company that doesn't even matter because there is no company, right? They were the company. They didn't have a company, they were the company, right? And so, you gotta get the people and the organizations in which you buy to believe in the greater whole, because they're going to be upset when their brand goes away, right? They've worked there for 100 years. The owners have treated them great. They have great pride in what they do in their organization, right? And you're yanking that away from them, right? Because they think they're pretty damn good. That's why we bought them, right? And so we got to transition those people and get them to believe in something bigger and better to soften that blow. So you got to get to the right maturity to do that in the marketplace. Some companies do it right away and it's working. I think that, long-term building a brand is what it's about. And I think there's huge opportunities in our industry to build a leading brand. I don't think there's one out there yet.
I agree with you there. I think there's been quite a bit of turnover at the top of these big companies that people maybe look to as the leading brand or the leading brands. And with that turnover comes, and when I say turnover, I should specify there's been a lot of ownership turnover, new cap tables, new private equity companies, so-and-so capital bought so-and-so capital that owns XYZ company. So with all this change and turnover, I agree. It opens up this opportunity for a true new brand. And when we talk about that new brand, I want to ask a little bit about your intentions when you started Sperber Landscapes, and if you feel like what you set out to accomplish, you accomplished. Maybe open that up a little bit if you don't mind sharing.
No, I would say it's a good question, and this is all relatively new, right? I haven't been there a week, so or two.
Yeah, it's fresh.
You know, my goal was to build another ValleyCrest, right? And you know, I would like to think we were. You know, it may not be true, as I said earlier. Everyone thinks they're the best, but I think we built a pretty dang good company at ValleyCrest, and I was super proud of it. My dad did amazing things, and my goal was to duplicate that. And unfortunately, Sperber's not there yet. And so, and by the way, it only took us what 75 years at ValleyCrest to do it. And so,
shit, yeah.
to get it done in 6 years with. By the way, we started Sperber like 4 months later. COVID happened. Right?
Yeah, you got, I mean, kind of an amazing story when you think about it.
COVID happened. It was a tough 6 years. I'm just telling you guys, it aged me doing this. Then I got cancer, and then it came back. Like the last 6 years was been a little bit of a shitstorm, and then like trying to build a company that was like 450 million, but it's been fun. And I've been so lucky to have so many great people follow me, because I couldn't do it without them, by the way. But shit, what was the question?
No, it's like,
What were we just talking? I totally lost.
No, you're on it. You're on it. The question is like what you set out to accomplish when you started Sperber, which is to create another ValleyCrest. The question is like, do you feel like you hit that, or do you feel like you still? We
never really felt it at ValleyCrest either, which made us like, you always got to continue to pursue.
Maybe that's part of it.
Like if you think you're there, then you're not there, and then it's over. The game's over. We never felt we were there at ValleyCrest, right? There was so much more we could do.
Wow.
Right? There's always like, if you're not constantly improving and pushing the envelope, right? So no, I don't even think we were close at Sperber, and at ValleyCrest, we never felt that we were there.
That's such an, I'm sure people are listening to this kind of like being like, holy shit. Because from the outside, you look at ValleyCrest and it's like, it's kind of the bar that you shoot for as a landscape professional today. And there's not too many other companies you can compare to today that's like, we want to raise that bar. At K&D, our goal is to raise the bar. We've always looked at ValleyCrest as one of those bars that we want to get to and then raise ultimately, because that's the competitive nature that I have, is like, I want to find out who did the best, and then I want to go and like push it further. Right. So
pursue growth and improvements every year. Right.
Yeah. Tell me more about like, what does that look like for you when you're looking for growth? Of course, it's revenue growth. Yeah, that's an easy way to measure it. But how else are you trying to grow every year?
Well, it starts with people growth, right? You know, my dad started this, and then we continued this. You know, we would, you know, and we had, we were a big company back in the day. And so we'd pass out every bonus check personally, right? Because nothing made my dad happier than giving someone a gigantic check.
That's a special day.
Right? And so we passed out every check personally. And by the way, there's some years that, you know, not everyone does great. Shit does happen. And we sat with that person and said, like, last year's check wasn't quite, last year's check was really good. This year's check, like, we're disappointed. And we flew all the way here to hand you this. We'd rather it have been big than small. Like, did we do anything to make the, like, what happened? Like, this isn't, like, this is not our fault. So,
yeah. So when you're, so, all right, I'll just say it. Like, I think private equity, they don't understand growth. They don't understand people growth. They don't understand organic growth. And so their solution to every problem is to just buy another company or hire another professional C-suite person. You've been in the circle of private equity closer than anyone else. Can you, sorry.
Nope, you got them on the other line. I get it.
They're hearing me. Their ears are buzzing. So I'll just restate the question because I really want to get this right. So in my opinion, private equity does not understand organic growth, people growth, and how to really just grow a company like we're talking about. Their solution is buy another company or hire another C-suite executive. In your experience working with PE so closely, what do they miss when it comes to organic year-over-year growth in the landscape industry specifically?
Well, they understand growth.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, fair.
You just want to grow the bottom line and top line at any expense, right? In a short period of time. First of all, the good news about private equity is that certainly when, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you started a landscape business, and your real option was to pass it on to family members, assuming they were even interested, or maybe you sell it to some employees, right? You do an ESOP, right? So, if you work 30, 40 years now and you want to sell your business, right, the businesses are worth a lot more today than they were back then. So there's a way for landscapers to accumulate a lot of wealth today. So good for them.
Yeah.
Right? We deserve it. Right? We all work hard. It's a great industry. So there's a mechanism now for someone to cash it all in one day. Like they've worked their butt off. They built great business, and so he or she now could sell their business and take care of their family and their family's family.
Yeah.
And that comes with, the downside to it is that it's changing what our business looks like, our industry looks like, I should say, right? Because private equity has no passion about the industry, and they don't care about the work. They don't care about the people. I'm talking generally, right? Right? It's just my opinion again, right? And so, it's growth at any cost, right? And so, me and you understand landscaping, and the Mariani, frequently the Ruperts of the world, and the people that are actually the leaders, of this industry, right? Can they be replaced by hired guns that know nothing about landscape, that have no passion about landscaping, right? Because that's really what's happening, right?
Right.
These companies are just being replaced by some executive from some big service company that was, right? And we're in a lot different business. If you look at it, like there's a lot of complexities in the landscape business that isn't in your simple service.
Typical home service, right?
Yeah. There's a lot more moving pieces in this. And so that's the real challenge is this industry becoming coin operated? And I see it being coin operated. I think long term, that's going to be bad for our people and bad for the client. I always draw a line on a piece of paper vertically this way.
Okay.
Vertically, right?
Yeah. North, south.
Yeah, north, south, right? And on one side of that line, draw a dollar sign. And on the other side of that line, draw a little happy face. And the center line is decisions. So when you make a decision about people or about a client or about what you do, is that leaning on the dollar side of the equation, or is it leaning on the people side? I always try and make sure that's slightly on the people side or to the people side. I think today, everything's being decided over on the dollar side of the piece of paper. And so so I would say for a lot of young people out there, to build a business long-term in their patience is, stick with it, because that's how you build a great business.
And it sounds like if you keep making decisions on the people side, then the money will take care of itself in the long run.
Yeah. So I would say private equity and I call this a new age of CEOs coming in, right? They're coin operated, but they're only about outputs, right? It's all about outputs to them.
Right.
Because other output. Our business is really about inputs, right? And if we do all our inputs right, the outputs automatically happen in this business if you concentrate on being really great on the inputs. We're religious about taking care of your people, training the heck out of them, and train them. Take care of them. Take care of the customer at any expense. Right? Do all those things that matter. You know, I have great trucks for my crews to drive in and do things for, like, the inputs matter. And so when you concentrate on just on the outputs, eventually bad things happen.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of a house of cards, right? And then
All right, people don't like working there anymore. You know, the people that work with us, you know, they're smart. They know, they see that, right? They see that. They see, oh, I'm being asked to cut back here on something that I probably shouldn't be cutting back on, so we can pick up a few more bucks for the end. Like, they see that. Do you want to work at a place like that? And, oh, by the way, I have to fill out 42 more forms to cover somebody's ass above me,
Yeah.
which I didn't have to do before. And I have cameras following me around 24 hours to 7 because, you know, I stopped at 7-Eleven for, you know, a donut. We've got to trust our people. Like, if you think we can sit in some office managing 10,000 people on every square inch of what we do, no.
You got to get out and be in the field with them, right? You got to be.
Yeah, we sent your report. Gee, your cell phone dinged 4 times that, you know, you were walking at 1 mile an hour and then you went down to a half a mile an hour. You got to keep it at 1. Like, is that what we're going to get to?
It's a scary thought because I worked in the field for 7 years, and I could tell you the pride in which the field production teams take in making their properties look amazing is the highest level of pride that I've seen in human beings.
Yep.
And when you start to undermine that, right, with trying to measure every second of every day, and I think at K&D we've been a bit guilty of this, you undermine the pride, and then what's left, right?
Yep.
Like,
gee, this app just said the lawnmower wasn't running for an extra 2 hours. Yes. Like, why'd you turn off your lawnmower? It was moving a little slower, right? Like, that's where it's like, I went to, like, you know, I took some time off after ValleyCrest and then wanted to get back in the business. And you know, I went to a, you know, the lawn and landscape technology conference.
yeah, I think we saw each other there.
This was like 9 years ago or something.
Okay. Yeah.
There were like 10 booths there. 5 of them were lawnmower companies that had nothing to do with tech. They were just like, there's going to be landscapers there. We're going to, right? And there were 5 technology conferences. Last year, there was 150 booths.
Wild.
Right? There's robotics and things that could bid faster, and you could, there's something that does something for everything. But I don't see anyone growing as fast as we ever grew before. No one's making any, like, is that really adding money to your bottom? Or is it just a big distraction? I know what it is doing. It's making a bunch of guys that have thought of all these fancy new technologies, it's making them a lot of.
That's a fact. Yeah.
That's a fact.
We can debate all day if it's working on our landscape businesses, but the fact is, yeah, people that are not in our industry, that are in the tech industry, are becoming very wealthy off our P&Ls that are being smashed down to 2, 3, 4% net margins because we're spending all this money on the new shiny app. So from like the mid 90s to, you know, 2015, ValleyCrest was just on an absolute tear of growth. You guys went on such a run that I have not seen any other company repeat it. And other than potentially you with Sperber through the acquisition focused roll up, but you didn't have the technology that we have now. You had more rudimentary systems. You know, can you share a little bit of like what were the core principles outside of the people? Like, were there just really good processes that you guys just continue to repeat? And how would you go about doing that again today?
Well, besides having great training programs and spending the time, energy, and money to have the patience to train people, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of technology. And so what the technology have zapped from us is experiences that gave our people knowledge, right? And so I'll use something really stupid, like, you know, you hire someone in their first job and say, hey, you want to go out and measure this job, because we're going to bid it, and we need to know how much grass there is and how many shrub areas, and just basically that. And, and by the way, someone's going to come with you to make sure you do it right. And, it's your first time. And so you go out there and you're out there with someone else, and you get to have an experience with another employee on measuring it. And they say, oh, well, I used to do it this way. I goofed up this, right? And you're out there learning about landscape maintenance and how you measure a job and what's important, what's not important, right? And so that person's getting a learning experience. You send someone with them so that they get to share knowledge, and now you have someone in the company you can talk to, right?
Yeah, they bond.
So we're growing experiences with our people. Today, there's an app that all you do is throw the address in the app, and it measures all that itself and pumps it out into some computer that you could do it. So that's just one example of experiences that were disappearing out of the industry. There was value in having that person go out there. Is it monotonous? Is there a faster way to do it? 100%. Like having some drone fly over or wherever they get the information is 10 times faster. But we're learning we're missing is the training and the experiences we're giving those people that make them great landscapers in the future.
Yeah. I've never thought about it like that, actually. I just looked at it as an obstacle in the way that needs to be removed, which is get the square footage of turf, beds, trees, what have you, so we can bid it. But I totally hear what you're saying, and I really do agree with this. Is there's a ton of value in that business developer or whoever it is measuring that property. You're bonding. You're actually getting to walk the property too, which I think sometimes shows you how long it takes to maintain it. Just walking every square inch of a property, you're like, wow, that took me 3.5 hours to make it through this.
Yeah, and something crazy might happen. The client might actually be there, and you get to talk to him.
Imagine that.
Imagine that, right? Stuff happens, right? And
you mean you don't just email them a proposal and cross your fingers?
Yeah, these experiences matter. My a guy named Chuck DeGarmo, he came over with me at Sperber, and he runs our incredible construction business. He's a couple years older than me, but in the summer I worked in our yard. It was his first day, full-time job out of college, right? And so his job was to supervise me. Our job was to sweep the yard and do nothing super important. And so what we learned is we were both sort of surfers, and we would go on the dumpsters and pretend we're surfing, and Chuck fell in one day and hurt himself. Something we still tell that story today. Okay, we now both know not to run on top of little dumpster edges, right? And good thing I learned it when I was younger, but we're just knocking experiences away that help develop great people.
Yeah. Well, you keep coming back to the people component, and it's obviously an important secret sauce of your growth and your success.
But without them, there's not us.
Yeah. Simple as that. How important is it for the stupid stuff like messing around the dumpster or shooting the shit at the yard at the end of the day with the guys? How important is that to do as a leader, on a daily or a weekly basis?
So back in the day, you probably never heard of this. It's called a paycheck. It would come out, and we'd put them in envelopes. I know they're bouncing to people's banks.
Yeah, just direct deposit in.
Which is a good thing. But back in the day, we have to make paychecks, and we stuff them in the envelopes. We'd make our managers every week go out and hand out every paycheck personally and thank everybody for coming to work and doing a great job. It's not a big thing, but it's now gone.
It's gone.
There's an opportunity that the branch manager who's busy doing all this other stuff just simply can go out and say thank you, and here's your paycheck.
That we did that. We had binders for every manager that they'd pick up Friday morning, and they go deliver the checks to the job sites. And you got me thinking, that forced them to go to the job site that force them to go meet with the crew in the field where they're at, say thank you. And now with the direct deposit, it's just one less reason or an event for a manager to go to a property or go to a construction job site. And I fear we're not visiting these sites often enough today.
That's I love, so we started Sperber with a big construction job in Hawaii. Client I had for a long time, certainly didn't deserve to get this job, right? It was a $40 million job. I wasn't even in business yet.
Wow. Well, there you go. Relationship.
Right. Relationship. But more importantly, right, they trusted us. I had 0 employees at the time.
What
right?
did this look like? Did they just call you out of the blue?
So I was, I was doing some consulting for the client on, I love interior design. I just like creative stuff. And so they bought this big hotel with some investors out of Japan. And I was at 1 or 2 meetings, design type meetings, not landscape, but just design hotel meeting. And the owner came and said, Richard, you have to do the landscaping on it. It's too big, it's too important, it's too complex. I go, I don't have a company. He goes, hey, but I know you're talking about starting it. This should be your first job.
Holy shit.
And so he goes to the investor and says, by the way, we're going to have Richard do the landscaping on the job. And the investor out of Japan goes, you mean Richard, the guy that was in the interior design meetings? He's not even aware. What are you talking about? He goes, oh, no, he used to be a landscaper. He goes, oh, he has a landscape company? And the guy goes, no, he doesn't have a landscape company. He goes, then why would we? He goes, no, he trusts us. And the guy goes, we're going to have to interview him and his team. This is a big job. And so the owner calls out, look, you're going to have to do an interview with your team. I go, I don't have a team. And so I called, some friends up, and they all dropped what they're doing. They flew over to Hawaii, even though they've even been working other places. And we did an interview and we got the job. And so it was a hard job, but I was there every other week in Hawaii. I loved being on the job, working with the crews, working with the teams. There's nothing better than that. That's what we do for a living at the end of the day. Nothing good happens in the office.
It's just a bunch of politics and drama.
Yeah.
And I think that's
we don't make any money in the office.
What was that?
We don't make any money in the office.
I say that all the time. We work for everybody else. We work for the team in the field. That's who pays our bills in the office.
By the way, it's also important, and this is something that I think is super important, is that office needs to realize that they work for the people in the field, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Right? There is support to making sure that everybody in the field have everything they need as easy as they can get it, not the other way around. Right? And I see a lot of organizations today is that it's the other way around.
You know what bugs me is when I see a really nice office with big glass windows and all the newest desks and chairs, and then you see their trucks coming in, and they're 20-year-old trucks beat up, and I just that's so backwards.
Yeah,
we're kind of the opposite. Our office is not anything special. It's just a concrete building with some desks and chairs, but we have all new equipment. And maybe that's part of just me and my dad being from the field and knowing how important it is to have new working equipment every day.
So
you've bought a lot of businesses. A lot of people listen to this podcast and they eventually want to sell their business one day, whether it's to a private equity, a strategic buyer, or whatever. What are 1 or 2 things that you see in a business that gets you excited to buy that business? That people should think about making sure they have within the company?
The first thing is, this is going to sound monotonous, but great long-term employees that are excited about working there. All right. A field force that has been there. When I go out and look at a company, I always look in the trucks. It's one of the first things I do. Are those trucks dirty and filthy inside, or are they nice and clean and the guys take pride in what they do? That's someone's yard speaks volumes about their business.
Yeah.
And their equipment, right? And you could tell when there's happy people and there's people that just there because they need the job. So, and then, clients that have great work that's been there a long time, right? And is there someone besides the owner that helps make a lot of decisions? A lot of time these owners want to make them feel like they're the most important person in the house, but then you're going, well, if that guy hits by a train and I have nothing. So it always comes back to great people.
Yeah. You've had a lot of success in construction, and Brightview really went heavy in maintenance, and now as of the last 6 to 12 months they've been really heavy in commercial construction. I know because I compete with them, and they're bidding jobs that they've never used to bid, and they're all over them with really low margins, maybe. And and you've always done construction so well from my perspective, and private equity's gotten away from it. Investors have gotten away from it. How important is it to have a construction aspect as part of a rounded landscape company in today's world?
So I'm going to answer this all over the board, and I apologize.
That's fine. It was kind of an all over the board question.
So, I think private equity does shy away from it, right? Because you do a job and it's done, and you have to get another one.
Yeah.
And then you got to get another one, and you got to get another, right? So it's that. And so, but I say it's super important. At least this is Richard Sperber's opinion. And by the way, there's 1,000 consultants out there. We all have our opinions. I don't know. Do what's in your gut and what's in your heart. Don't listen to anybody, including me.
Right there.
But look, I think it's one of the things that made us special, right? In a couple ways. Right? First of all, it gives you privileged access to the ownership, right? So we're now we're just not another landscape maintenance provider. We're their go-to person, right? Because when you're doing a big construction job, and we've got to work on some amazing, incredible projects, right? And you're working alongside the owners and the senior people in that organization, right? And so you become a partner with them. And so it's easier for you. Well, just like I started this big job at Hawaii, right? It's and we're doing the maintenance on it. It was a big maintenance job. So, you're building experiences with clients and helping them solve problems, and, that you don't get to do if you're just a landscape maintenance company, right? So just the relationships we've built alone with amazing real estate companies, it's worth every nickel of it. Forgetting the fact we made a bunch of money doing it, but the relationships are invaluable that we've made.
I love that answer, because so many people discount that aspect of the construction work that people do. Is the relationships are everything. I mean, it's clear your entry into Hawaii in whenever that was, to do that $40 million job. I'm sure that led, like you said, to the maintenance, and then probably a lot more work for that same company, and a lot more maintenance for other hotels.
We have a huge business in Hawaii. We did. I'm not at Sperber anymore, but we built 4 more bigger resorts because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's. I had something on it slipped my mind. What I was about to say, but yeah. So every year we could do more and more and more construction. The economy does go sideways every 5-10 years or something for a year or two, but if we wanted to do at Sperber today, if we wanted to do $1 billion of the landscape installation, we could. The jobs out there today seem to get bigger and bigger and more impressive, not smaller and smaller. And they're more sophisticated, and there's less people capable of doing it every year.
Especially at that elite level.
Yeah, you could build a landscape installation business today that do jobs 500,000 and above and build a gigantic business.
It's exciting to think about. It's exciting to think about the scale and the opportunity that's out there. What would you say to someone like myself and others who are in a way just really starting our career as leaders in the industry and have big aspirations to grow large companies? Are there any words of advice or experience that you've gone through that you're like, hey, you know, do this, don't do that? Anything specifically that you would say to someone looking to grow a large company today?
I'd say have some patience, right? You know, there's going to be good things that happen and bad things that happen, but that's all in the past. You can only improve the future, right? And so just like do the right thing. You know, and it's so many people say that, but it's so hard to do, right? And you know what the right thing is, right? And so, you know, it's probably why I'm not at Sperber right now, right? It's like you got to do the right thing, and sometimes the right thing is not the best thing for the bottom line, but it's the right thing to do for the company and for the people and for the clients and for the. If you continue to just do the right thing, right? Continually try to improve every day. Like, you know, singles and triples are good. You're not always going to get home runs, right? And just stick with it. Have tenacity. Surround yourself with great people. A great field force is invaluable. You know, don't worry about, oh, the guy wants another $4 an hour, $2 an hour. I mean, we have superintendents making 150 grand a year plus.
That's awesome, by the way.
Right? And they're worth every nickel. So, you know, stay organized, you know, it's just like be honest. Yeah. So I'd say that's good. Don't get caught up in, you know, all these different things everyone's trying to sell you today. That's going to help you grow your business faster or do this faster or do that faster. Like I'd be very, very careful. There's some good ones out there, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the phone with this. It's called like Bob Yard. They're like I sat with them. They actually, I sat there and I listened to them. Yeah, they actually do something sort of cool. They like take the stuff, the hard part of estimating that doesn't teach you any value, and they solve that a lot quicker. And then they let you spend more time actually learning and doing what you're supposed to do about estimating. So there's some good things out there, but most of them are, you know, I think there's a lot of really smart people taking really average ideas and packaging them to really make them sound like brilliant ideas, and they're not.
And then, like, none of them talk to each other either. So you're like constantly jumping between systems. And
by the way, if you could merge all this stuff into one big system, they would be sort of helpful.
Yeah.
But look, when you know at ValleyCrest, we're always looking at the local smaller competitor because they move bigger, faster, quicker than us. So they might be looking up, going, "How do I compete against these guys?" We're looking down, going, "Shit, how are we going to compete against those guys?"
That's a great perspective.
So don't worry about the big guy. Worry about yourself every day. Just get a little bigger, badder every single day, because the big guy is trying to be like you, closer to their customer, closer to their employees, doing great work, have employees that actually like working there, right?
Yeah. So the guys that those who are listening to this, who are the smaller guys in their market, they're competing against the big boys. You have a major advantage right now, and you always will. Take advantage of it and hold that advantage. I think that's an obvious point to make, and one that most people probably look over.
Yeah. Don't do things to them, do things to help them, right?
Yeah.
Right? Spread the wealth, spread the responsibility out, right? Have people that are entrepreneurial, that are working for you, that are passionate about the business and understand the business and enjoy actually gardening and landscaping, because the industry is getting so far away from actually what we do that if that's what you concentrate on, you're going to be really successful, because the clients see through all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Get back to the basics. I mean, the simplistic aspect of landscaping is what makes this industry so exciting and so hard to figure out and to like shortcut or hack. There's not really much of a shortcut here. It's like go do the hard work, train the people. This is what I'm picking up from what you're saying is have long-term relationships with great people, both clients and team members, and focus on the fundamentals. Like get that done really, really well, and then start to optimize.
Don't overmanage look, there's 10 things in this business that if you pay attention to number wise, you'll be just fine. Don't over today there's we need every number immediately on 400 metrics. That is a complete waste of your time.
What, off the top of your head, what are one or two or three of those metrics that you would say we got to be tracking?
No, I always start everything with safety.
Yeah, I like that.
Just so if I leave safety out of anything, it's because I'm old and I forget.
That's number one. Okay.
Number one, for all sorts of reasons. The obvious one is let's get everyone home safely every day the way they showed up at work. It's the right thing to do. Look, are your margins good on your jobs? Right? It's pretty basic. It's either or not. That's the number one. Right? Is your enhancement margins good? Yeah. How much enhancement work are you selling? Right? Are you keeping your clients? Are you growing your base book of business every year? Are you keeping your customers? I mean, there's only a few. I can go a few more, but what else do you need to know?
Right. Are you keeping your employees, right? Employee turnover.
But you can keep your employees. That's one. I got 700 jobs, and I want to know how we pruned this and that and on every job, and how much did it take to put the fertilizer, and how much did it take how much did it take? It's like you're driving everybody's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I get there could be some issues on jobs, right? And so maybe you got to pick a job God, we're really having a problem on, right? There's sometimes you have to do some deep dives, right? Because there could be some issues, but keep it simple. It's always going to be about the work and the people doing the work. I've never had a client call me yet and say, hey, look, we're going to have to let you go. Your computer system's just not up to par, and you're not measuring that stuff. And it's always about the same thing. The grass isn't green. I've asked you guys to pull those weeds for 6 weeks now, and they seem to still be there. Right?
It's weeds, trash, and green grass.
Yeah.
And getting back to people, right? Communication.
Communication. Gee, it'd be nice to, I've asked you a couple of times that, we have some issue. We'd love to improve this part of the job. I've asked you 5 times for a plan. Do I have to ask you 6 times? You guys don't want to, it's the same stuff every single time.
And
have fun at what you do. If you're not having fun, don't do it.
Oh, yeah. You got to have fun.
You got to have fun.
Have a team you enjoy being around, too. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I love my team, but I wasn't having fun the last 6, 8 months. I got to have, I love having fun.
Yeah. What's next for you, Richard? Do you know yet? Are you planning it out?
I don't know yet. I'm looking, I got some ideas. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. Maybe start another company.
Hell yeah. It's an exciting thought, man, to have you out there thinking about your next move. I'm excited to see this play out.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening in the industry. I'd love to figure out a way to sort of bring it back to what matters.
Yeah, we've gotten so far away from that with everybody's talking about EBITDA, multiples, revenue, growth. It's so much focused around the private equity playbook and talking points because, I think a lot of people are making a lot of money. So that drives conversation when there's 10, 20, $30 million exits happening every week. And I love the idea of getting back to the people. We have this mission right now at K&D is we want to get to $100,000 minimum wage across our whole company.
Hey, so I just want to understand what you just told me. So that your average employee will make $100,000 a year.
Not average.
Oh, tell me what you just said. I want to understand what you just said.
Okay. So after a 90-day integration training program, on day 91, every employee at K&D will make at least $100,000 a year in income, which means we've got to be somewhere around a $45 an hour minimum wage for every single team member that is within our business.
That would be amazing.
Every other trade business is pretty much almost there, like especially in the union side of things. It just is a matter of figuring out how to optimize maintenance, and whether it's a little bit of robotic mowing or something, we got to figure out a way there, because I think there's always going to be an undercurrent pulling wages and pricing down. But that is our mission at K&D. And my stated goal is to get there before 2030.
That's a great goal.
Thanks, man.
That's an amazing goal. And that's how you're going to do it, because everyone's probably thinking the opposite of you.
Yeah, like how do I increase my gross profit per hour or whatever? It's like, yeah, no, we want to get our minimum wage to 100,000. And it's, because I think we're already about average 100,000 per person. If you were to take our entire salaries that we pay out a year and divide it by the total employee count, we're pretty close to 100,000. So this is minimum wage. It's a very different number than I think a lot of people realize.
That's an ambitious goal, but look, you could do that.
Do you think it's possible within 40 years to get there?
So you're the math guy, and I'm not. I don't have a calculator. So your labor would have to make $50 an hour.
Yeah, 50. Call it 50, which means we gotta price them out like 90.
Yeah, so $50. So you'd have to price them out at $100 an hour.
Which
so
right now.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, right now I think a lot of people are in the 50 to 60 range per hour, at least on like just base maintenance stuff.
So the answer is you can get there. You can do anything you want. So, and we're in the industry, we don't have a lot of pricing power. So you're gonna have to go upscale more where landscaping matters, right? And I think there's more and more jobs like that, and you're certainly in an area where the jobs are out there to do it. So I think you can get there, right? Nice. You gotta do great work, and you gotta move upscale, larger projects. That's on maintenance jobs.
Yeah. That's going to be the hardest, because I think construction is already pretty.
You can get. Yeah.
I agree. I think too is like, you have all this management salaries, and you kind of explained it as a bigger company. You have 14 layers of people looking at reports, and I'm really curious as we try to scale to a larger company, what if we really kept a flat organization? So you have less managers and professionals and C-suite folks, and you then can pay your team more because you don't have this giant overhead to recover. That's one of, I think, the levers that I'm going to try to pull.
Yeah, I think if you keep your information flow simple, right?
Yeah.
There is stuff in the back of house, what I call back of house today, which is, that you can't automate, that, larger companies are already doing. Right. So, rather than have this gigantic corporate overhead, streamlining it, and, I think that is very realistic. And the money with you're doing the right thing, spending the money with the people that are actually doing the work. That's customer.
Because it's fucking hard work. It's really hard work.
We've bought a few companies over the years, or I've looked at a few companies over the years. Let me just put it down.
Fair.
Where, they were big. They were companies in the $15 million. I don't know how big they were, right? And they were the typical landscape company, and they had people in the office, this and that. And I've met at least two companies that they went to 0 people. They outsourced everything. Now, the owner had to spend a little more time on the computer because he had to go on and approve stuff and I'm not a back of house guy, but 0
Wow.
employees
On the overhead side, like the back
on the overhead
office.
side.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think we're going to see more companies like that too, with technology being able to automate some of that stuff, like finance and.
I mean, at some point you need a CFO, and you're going to need some people. I mean, so at that level, he could do it, but you know, I see some of the overheads we're building, not adding any value. But you sort of nail it. Have great people you enjoy working with and you have fun with. That's what I love about the construction business, because we do a lot of fun stuff.
There's something, I mean, that's where I started and still have my passion is commercial construction. And we were like $1 million a year in 2013, and we got an opportunity to build like bid a $1.2 million job. And it was, so it's more than our annual revenue. And we got it, we landed it, we did it. And since then in 2013, I've been kind of hooked on this idea of commercial construction, because it's like, you get to be the hero at the end of the job when everything's over budget, over schedule. They don't know how they're going to meet their deadline and get their occupancy permit. And then you show up with 50 guys and like just hammer it out, and they can't believe how quickly things come to life. Plants, mulch, irrigation, boom, we're done. That's a pretty fun feeling at the end, walking the job with the owners and being a bit of the heroes to bring that job to fruition.
So let me ask you can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
So you look at, you keep bringing up all the big roll-ups and all these, who are your shining stars on the hill today? Like, if you say, God, this is the big landscape companies I want to be like who are they?
So today, I really like what Yellowstone has created in terms of their brand and their process of integration. And I really like Tim Portland's the way he turned that company around from losing money at 70 million to 750 or wherever they are now today. I really like JT Price and Landscape Workshop. I think the way they've integrated small businesses has been super impressive. I really like Par 3 Landscaping in Las Vegas. They're overlooked by most people because they don't really make a lot of noise, but they're just like a 40, 50 plus $1 million company in Las Vegas that dominates the Las Vegas market. Not like a roll up model. And then like I've really liked the companies and have been impressed with the companies and the logos that you guys put together at Sperber. I think starting with Bemis and I know Colin and Corin and those guys, they're just such great people, and you've continued to build and did build some great people and companies into that. I've watched that closely. Outside of that, it falls off quite a bit. And there's a lot of other people that I look to, like Tom Havlin's another, and Bob Grover up there in Oregon's another that I definitely look to for mentorship and think that they're doing a lot of things right. But the philosophy and the mindset and the vision that I personally have for K&D landscaping that we want to take, and I'll just tell it to you, we want to take our company to $1 billion in valuation, have 15% of that owned by employees, so an employee equity pool of 150 million. And then we want to take it public at a multiple of revenue, and really try to take it to the public markets with a different model than what we see today. I don't even know what that even looks like, Richard, in 10 years or 5 years or whenever that happens. But I think the public markets and the NASDAQ and the publicly traded world is going to change dramatically with AI, and we're going to see a lot of tech companies. We're already kind of seeing it here. So I think service-based companies, people that do things like landscaping, is going to have a lot more attention in the future if we can get our fundamentals correct. So that's a little bit about a look into my brain.
As long as the grass keeps growing, we're going to be pretty good.
I think so.
All right, this was fun.
I was just going to say, man, thank you so much for your time, for sitting here for an hour and a half plus with me. And look, we end the episode with a trade secret from every guest. So you've given us so much, but I'd just ask if there was one last piece of advice, and you may have already said it, that you want to leave our listeners with. What would be your trade secret?
I would, my trade secret. Well, first of all, I can't tell it to you because then it wouldn't be a secret.
That's number point.
So that's number one.
We'll get your secondary secret, the one that you can actually give up to us.
I would say, trade, they put me on the spot. I would say our trade secret is that we don't have a trade secret. Because if you really look at our business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, me and you are the same, right? I just have less ink than you.
Yeah,
and
true.
I'm a lot older. But look, we could buy the same lawnmowers.
Yep.
Right? We could buy all the same computer stuff everyone's trying to sell us. Right? Buy the same pickup trucks. And we all hire from the same pool of people. The secret is what you do with it, right? We all have the same, it's an equal playing field. It's what you do with the people. And I keep preaching this, and I sound like it's what you do with that opportunity.
Yeah.
And with those people. That's the only separation we have between the good guys and the bad guys. Because we all have access to the same stuff. You don't have any trickier lawn, at least I don't think you do. I don't think you have a trickier lawnmower than I have. Maybe you do. Maybe it goes, I don't know. If you do, you won't tell me about it, right? We all have the same struggles with employees and people, and right? We all have the same computer system. Probably, you push a button, it does something. Like, we all can buy the same I could buy the same pickup trucks you got.
Yeah, there's no secrets there. We're rolling the Fords out there with the trailer. I mean, we're all doing the same thing most of the way. Like 90% of it's the same, like you're saying. It's the last 10%.
Yeah.
What do you do with it?
Play the long game, right? Do great things with your people, because that's what's going to win. There are no secrets in this business. Just what you do differently and who really believes it's all about the people.
I love that.
Because everyone says it is.
Yeah.
Everyone says it is. But do you truly believe it and do you live it every day?
That's the test. And that's what separates. It's the thinnest line from the best in the world to those who live the same terrible 6 months for the rest of their life. Is like, it's what you actually do with it. I think it's simple yet extremely profound. Thank you.
All right,
we'll end it there. So Richard, I wish you best, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you on the next, wherever you go next. And thank you for taking the time to share everything today with us.
No, it was fun. Anytime. Good luck, buddy.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.